Tropical Storm Elsa moving northeastward out of North Carolina and into southeastern Virginia. We've got severe weather all over the place tonight across much of the area from eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England. So we've got lots to talk about on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. Phone number there, 631-756-1125. That's in West Babylon, New York, on Long Island. Good place to go to get your hurricane supplies or tropical storm supplies if you need them. The website is omnitruevalue.com, and brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs, whether you want to decorate for the holidays or maybe you want to do this as a business. They're at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York, also on Long Island and not too far away from Omni. 631-957-5106. liholidaylighting.com is the website. So, Mr. Rayo, are you with us?
Hello.
Hello. Crazy night tonight. The radar exploded this afternoon and evening, and this is probably one of the more active thunderstorm days that we've seen in a long, long time. And while you can't say that it's part of Elsa, but it's in that huge tropical environment that the Eastern Seaboard is sitting in. Just one tropical soup bowl. So indirectly, it kind of is part of Elsa.
Yep, and Elsa's going to rear her ugly head full and front and center probably after midnight tonight, Joe. Probably a 6-hour time frame. I got it down between 2 o'clock and 8 o'clock in the morning. And with the track now more to the west, I did a consensus with the European and the GFS, and with the track more to the west, this track now is very, very similar, amazingly similar to a tropical system we had back in 1996 in July. That was Tropical Storm Bertha. It hit on a Saturday morning, the 13th of July, 1996. I remember it well, believe it or not. I was on at News 12 Long Island that Saturday morning, filling in for Rob Eisenson. And I remember that tropical system very, very well. It did cause some problems. It did bring down a few power lines and some trees, and brought a whole swath of rain to the area. And it looks like this storm, Elsa, as it passes on by tonight, may have a chance to do pretty much the same thing. At least we'll be monitoring that for everybody during the overnight hours.
Okay, so I just want to run through a couple of things, a general theme here before we get going with respect to Elsa. I still think that the bigger deal is going to be the rain, particularly after all the thunderstorms today. Some 8 places getting hammered with several inches of rain, so it's not going to take much to cause some flash flooding. So rain is going to be the bigger deal. As far as the wind is concerned, maybe right along the immediate coast, and I'm talking about you have to be pretty close to the beaches or just inland of the beaches. There might be some wind, some gust to gale force for a short time, but I honestly think that the wind here is not going to be a big factor. I got to think you're still on the same page with this.
Well, I'm looking at the speed of this storm, and the forward speed at the time when the thing is passing on by to us, to our south, will be on the order of about 30 to 35 miles per hour. And as we've seen with some tropical storms and hurricanes that really didn't amount to all that much. Let's say I'll give you an example. Wilma of some years ago, which was, I think, a Category 1 or 2 storm, because it was moving at such a tremendously fast rate of speed, the forward speed added into the storm's dynamics made for a far more powerful wind system. And I would not be surprised, Joe, if we saw, even up here where I live, and I live a good 50 or 60 miles inland from from the coast, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw gale force winds here, and maybe along parts of the Long Island and Jersey Shore, winds topping 50 miles an hour for a short time, not for a long period of time. But I'm just saying that just be careful, because this thing now, because of its track closer to the coastline and its fast forward speed and its similarities again to Bertha of 1996, makes me think that we may be dealing with something a little bit more significant or a little bit more robust than what we were talking about, let's say, a day or two ago. We'll see.
All right, I'm still not completely sold on the idea of the wind. Uh, Gus, yeah, it's definitely a 6 hour event. Yeah, on the beaches, you certainly could see some gusts up 40 or more. Actually, we've been seeing it all day long on the Carolina coastline. I'll bring up the hazards map and we can take a look at what's going on at the moment. But in terms of widespread gales lasting 6 hours or more, like we had last,
No,
like I said, that's not going to happen.
no, it's
No.
not. It will not happen. And we still on the various guidance models, we're still seeing, at least I'm still seeing, in terms of omega or atmospheric energy, the lion's share of that happening mostly out to sea. This looks nothing like what Itza showed last year when we had that tight swath of energy that moved on through and only moved through in about 3 or 4 hours, but it was a much more significant swath of energy as opposed to what we'll be seeing with this system. And I agree with you. I think the rains are going to be more significant. But even in this case, the irony of this is that from what we've seen already in some places with thunderstorm activity this afternoon and early this evening, the thunderstorms may have more of a punch in terms of
Some places,
precipitation
yeah.
amounts, as opposed to the actual tropical system that's headed our way for later tonight.
All right, I pulled up the radar's up now, and one of the things that's happening is, you've got the storms now. If you just looked at the radar, you can kind of pick out where all the features are. You have a frontal boundary that's lying out to the west. There's Elsa, and by the way, the leading edge of the rain from Elsa is already into southern New Jersey on the radar, so that seems to be coming up a little bit faster than what was previously modeled. In the last couple of hours, one of the other things that's happened is now, of course, you have the severe weather. And it's kind of funny because the watch box that SPC put up today was not as far north, but it covered a lot of the same area that didn't get a whole lot in terms of severe weather yesterday. Well, it turned out it worked out quite well today in terms of the forecast. I'm just going to move the little paint box out of the way so we can see this a bit better. And we're still getting flashes of severe thunderstorm warnings. A few of them just expired in northern New Jersey. There were a couple over Long Island. You see those two little dots there on Long Island, in Long Island Sound. Those were severe cells from earlier. Now they've moved offshore, but these new ones have formed back in northern New Jersey, and they're moving northeast. And the two areas have they're just about merged together. The center of Elsa is now just getting into southeastern Virginia, right about there. You can tell by the curling hook there on the radar. Nothing going on south and west of that center. So as soon as the low center goes by, wherever you happen to be, the rain is going to shut off right after that. So as the 6 to 8 hours worth of stuff. A lot of folks are going to blend the two things together here, Joe, with respect to the thunderstorms that are going on now and what's going to happen overnight and into tomorrow morning. Still, by the way, thinking after it goes by, we'll probably see some improvement, and then we're going to have this frontal line come through and maybe some more showers and thunderstorms late tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow night. And then we should transition over into a reasonably quiet weekend, although there might be a few pop-ups here and there.
Yeah, I think the weekend is going to be just fine. As far as what we're expecting for tomorrow, again, the early part of the day, and in fact, I think after 8 o'clock in the morning, Joe, we're pretty well done with Elsa, save for a few leftover showers. And then what we'll have to do is just have to wait for, as you pointed out, the next round of precipitation with that front. That'll be late in the day on your Friday, and then after that, we should be pretty well into a tranquil weather pattern as we move into the upcoming weekend.
Right. When you say 8 o'clock, you're gonna be done. We're talking specifically. I'm gonna draw a line there. So basically, from New Jersey south and west, it's done, and particularly southern half of New Jersey, southern Pennsylvania, down into Maryland, Delaware. You'll be long out of this. But it's going to take longer if you're in southern New England, if you're in Connecticut, Massachusetts, particularly if you're in southeast Massachusetts. Given the track, okay, so you're screen sharing here. Give me a second. Given the track, if we see something that straddles the coastline and then actually goes inland somewhere into southeastern New England, parts of southeastern Massachusetts will probably get into some pretty good wind for at least several hours as the low goes by. And of course, while all this is happening, you're getting this transition over from a tropical to a post-tropical system. And here's I'm going to switch off so you can see what Mr. Rayos put up on his screen here, and there you have it. So have at it.
All right, yeah. As I said just a few moments ago, in doing a little bit of looking around, of course, I did this the other day, but I had a track that was further offshore. But now, this morning, after making comparisons and putting together the tracks based upon the GFS and also the European model, this pretty much looks like the track that Elsa is going to take relative to our area. And as you can see, Joe, as opposed to what we were thinking just a couple of days ago, much closer, much further west than what we were thinking. In fact, this thing looks like it could skirt right along the Jersey shore, past just 30 or 40 miles south of Manhattan around 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, and then maybe cut across eastern Long Island and then move on up toward the Boston area by 2 p.m. And as I said, look at this is the track based upon consensus of the two models for Elsa tomorrow morning. And over here, this is the track that Bertha, the tropical storm, took back in 1996, July 13th, July 12th and 13th. Look, it starts out pretty much over the Delmarva. It moved inland along the Jersey Shore, passed just to the south of New York City, moved across western Long Island, and then moved on up to Boston. And I tell you, I could not find a tropical system going over past records. I could not find a tropical system closer or more strikingly similar to what we're anticipating with Elsa than with Bertha. And then it was just a matter of going online and checking out what some of the newspapers said about Bertha. And basically, some trees down, power outages, not hundreds of thousands, but a few thousand, here on Long Island, and also some power outages over in New Jersey. Winds gusted to 50 miles per hour along the coastline. There was one gust in one section of Long Island, I think Babylon. Babylon reported with Bertha a gust to something like 74 miles per hour. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen tomorrow with Elsa, but what I am saying is that I think that the forward speed of Bertha contributed to those gusty winds back in 96, and the fast-moving speed of Elsa, again, by the time it reaches us, 30, maybe even 35 miles per hour, it's going to really be trucking along. That could help to cause not only the significant rainfall, but also the very strong gusty winds. Of course, the movement doesn't have anything to do with the rain. This atmosphere that Elsa is moving into is just chock-loaded with lots of moisture already. And now we're going to add a tropical system to it. So get ready. I think after midnight, 2 to about 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, we're going to be looking at some heavy-duty rainfall, flash flooding, as if it's not already occurred with the thunderstorms that we've seen here already. And more to come, it looks like, overnight tonight.
All right, I accidentally erased the hazards map, so I've just reloaded it. And I'm going to bring that up so we can just kind of take a look-see. And I'm seeing, for example, in Fort Pickett, Virginia, which is pretty far inland, and that's probably close to where the center is now. They're north at 18, gusting to 36. with rain fall, rain and fog, and I'm just looking at some of the wind gusts. I'm going to go a little bit further to the south and see if we can pick up what's going on down at Virginia Beach. There's a gust to 37 at Kip Top Peak. Kip Taki. That's as close as I'm going to come to this. It's on the southern tip, and I've actually been there. It's on the southern tip of the Delmarva Peninsula. They're gusting to 32. There is a gust at Manteo Dare County Regional Airport in eastern North Carolina, gusting to 49. And it's basically low range gales or fringe gales going on along the coast. The inland winds, inland sustained winds are running 10 to 15, 10 to 20, gusts 20, 25. So the winds at least inland, and I'm just judging from the wind barbs. I'm thinking the center is just about, right in here. It's a little elongated, which is something that the Hurricane Center did mention, but it looks like the center is right there in inland and southeast Virginia, maybe about 100 miles west northwest of Virginia Beach, and pretty soon it's going to be into Chesapeake Bay, and then we're going to continue to watch it from there as it starts to move to the north. Meanwhile, just as I was saying, in terms of the saturated tropical air, we had temperatures this afternoon that reached up 90 or better in parts of southeastern Pennsylvania into southwest Jersey, and of course the thunderstorms have all cooled the temperatures down, mostly in the low to mid 70s now, but the dew points were up in the low 70s just about everywhere, and that's exactly where they are now. We've got low 70 dew points all the way up into Rhode Island, and dew points in the mid and upper 60s as you go further north up through the Hudson Valley and on up into Massachusetts. So this is really about as saturated an air mass as you can get, and it's tropical. You could feel it today. If you talk to anyone today, yes. If anyone that had, that's into weather, would have told you, being outside, you could feel that something, a tropical system was coming, because the air had that sense to it.
Absolutely. As I just mentioned a few minutes ago, a juicy air mass. This is the kind of air mass that loans itself to there's a lot of precipitable water. I mean, if you could take this atmosphere and squeeze it out like a damp sponge, you probably would get a good 2 or 3 inches out of it. And we were talking yesterday about 2 to 4 inches with the passage of Elsa, putting the emphasis more on the 2 than the 4. I still think we probably could put more of the emphasis on the 2 as opposed to the 4, if only because, again, Elsa is going to wind rapidly past us. It's going to move very quickly, and that fast movement, again, will play a role. Well, it'll play a role in two regards. It'll play a role, I think, in helping to possibly increase the potential of strong wind gusts, and also helping to keep the precipitation, the heavy-duty precipitation, down by its fast movement. So that heavy rain is going to be here, but it's not going to be here for a very long interval of time, and long enough to put down, let's say, in an order of like 4 or 5 inches. But again, if you take Elsa and combine it with what has already fallen this afternoon and early evening with some of the thunderstorms, there will be, in the end, places that will probably pick up in excess of 4 or 5 inches. Again, partly from the thunderstorms and also partly from what is coming our way from Elsa later tonight.
Yeah, no question. And I got the U.S. loop up. You could see Elsa here. Here's the upper trough that's moving through the Great Lakes. There's actually another one that's right behind it. It's not a very sharp upper trough, but it is doing its job in terms of energizing the atmosphere. Obviously, it's helping to trigger off some of the thunderstorms that we're seeing today. One other thing I want to point out, because I did mention this yesterday, and actually the Hurricane Center mentioned it today, this huge area of clouds and rotation that extends from the western Gulf inland into South Texas. That's due to an upper low. And if you see where the rotation is, that upper low is actually inland. If that upper low were over the open waters, then over a course of a couple of days, you could see that become more of a warm core system and maybe eventually become a tropical system. We've seen that happen many times over the course of many hurricane seasons. But as long as the upper low remains inland, that is not going to be a factor. And of course, for the folks there, it really doesn't matter because the upper low is just creating huge problems, continuing to just pull up moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico. And the pouring rains continue there in Texas. And just real quick, Joe, before I go, I'll switch the screen for you. Just want to show, just get down there into the Gulf and take a look at the radar. And you can see in the Western Gulf, and this has been going on for days and days now with tons of showers and thunderstorms, particularly along the coastal bend of Texas. You've got flash flood warnings that are popping up all over the place. And in Florida today, we've got some action down in South Florida, but most of the Southeast now, and even through the Carolinas where they had heavy rain today, that's all done. The heaviest rain is in that yellow band in southeastern Virginia, where it's been pouring for the last several hours. And again, that's once the center of Elsa reaches you, the rain just shuts off. Now you've got the infamous RPM model,
Yes.
which I always thought was really as much a composite of all the models put together than any kind of magical model. But nonetheless, it does help to look at it. But
yeah, I like the animation, so to speak. And as you can see right here, this is as of the this is 21Z, and this is as of let me just back this up a little bit. No, okay, I'm sorry.
Well, go to the first frame for a second. So I mean, bring it up to 0Z.
All right. This is 21, 22. Here we go with 0Z. This is 0Z right now.
That's the 0Z look. Now, I'm going to just bring our radar back, the actual real radar back. And I want to just make this point. With respect to the short-range models, and all of them, not even close in terms of the magnitude of the amount of precipitation that's being shown. I mean, the RPM has absolutely nothing in central New Jersey down into Delaware. You have to go almost down into southeastern Virginia. That's where you find what it sees as the core of Elsa, and it's missing all of that action that's going on between, because we do have light to moderate rain ranging up all the way into Delaware and now moving into southern New Jersey. It did a better job with what's going on in Pennsylvania. It's overdoing western Pennsylvania and underdoing the thunderstorms in northeast Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey. Even though it does have some strong cells there, it's underdoing those cells, as well as the ones in Connecticut and over into Massachusetts. So the super short range models like the HRRR and a few others are not doing a good job in terms of reflecting what's on the radar. I'm sorry. Now I will switch back to I'll switch back to your screen, and you have it now.
What you said is very interesting, because I thought that maybe instead of using 21Z as the most recent update of the RPM, that maybe it might be well to go to 12Z, I guess you could call that the primary run, and see what it said back then, and it shows it a little bit better. At least it shows more in the way of moisture down here over part of South Jersey and across the Delmarva region. Yeah, here's the thunderstorm activity.
Yeah, but northern New Jersey, Hudson Valley, Long Island, falling short there in a big way.
Right, it's falling short. Yeah, maybe. Let me try one more thing. Let me take a look at the 18Z. See if that has a little bit of a better handle on things. And isn't it fun to be able to move weather systems like this? Going back to 0Z now. So this is 0Z, and as you can see, Joe, just a big corridor of nothing across central southern New Jersey and down to the Delmarva until we reach Elsa. So yeah, these models are falling way short of of properly depicting the precipitation and the moisture here. So you have to, take this with a grain of salt, I guess, for depicting. But I just want to show you and everybody else. Here is Elsa, and you could see how the spiraling of Elsa coming up from the south and coming through or moving through the tri-state area. It looks like this is forecasting the worst of it for us to be around 6:30 to about what 7 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then right after that, Elsa lifts away to the northeast, and then we end up in this corridor of nothing for a while. There's your cold front that will be working its way toward us for the latter part of the afternoon tomorrow, reaching us by late tomorrow afternoon. This is now showing you 2330Z or 7:30 tomorrow night. So we may get hit hard after midnight into the wee hours of tomorrow morning with Elsa. Then there'll be a long stretch of not much of anything. And then toward the end of the day, maybe another round of showers and storms with the front passing by to finish out your Friday.
All right, so let's take a look at, let's go to SPC and see what they got on the table. Because they're busy today, obviously too. We still have a working tornado watch in southeastern Virginia and in eastern North Carolina that extends up into the Delmarva Peninsula. Then you got that little gap in between, and then the severe thunderstorm watch that's up, until for another hour in southeastern Pennsylvania, northeastward to northern New Jersey, the Hudson Valley. Southern New England, Long Island. That watch box actually turned out to be pretty accurate. Just about everybody inside that watch box got to see something today, and some places got to see a lot of something, obviously, with some of these cells. You have a large area of marginal risk that watch box was put in. Just want to also point out that we have an enhanced risk tonight in western North Dakota and northeastern Montana. With some severe weather likely there. Also a slight risk of severe weather in southwest Ohio, northwestern Kentucky, southern Indiana, and a small area of marginal risk along the Texas coast. The forecast, I'm just going to bring up the map for a moment. I just want to point out that they actually added the slight risk, SPC did, when they went to the watch box. And the tornado risk. Now, bear in mind, folks, that this profile here goes till tomorrow morning. So it's quite possible that when we get Elsa to move up in this tropical air mass, that you're going to have some severe thunderstorms embedded in there. We saw them today in the Carolinas. We saw them also in southeastern Virginia. There's a 5% probability of tornadoes being indicated for a small portion of northern New Jersey, just about to New York City, the Hudson Valley, and much of Connecticut. And then there's a larger 2% area. You're also seeing 5% risk of tornado where they have the tornado watch up now in southeastern Virginia and in eastern North Carolina. So just again, this categorical, the categorical risk goes all night till 12Z tomorrow, and then during the day tomorrow, as we go to day 2, and this is for Friday into Saturday, they have us in marginal risk, Joe, all day. I'm assuming that this is also going. This looks like the marginal risk from the tropical system pulling out, but I got to think that with the front pushing eastward, that we could, and if the dew points don't come down tomorrow, they may come down a little bit behind this, but you're going to have to wait for the cold front to get the real dry air.
Right.
That we could be in a marginal risk for severe weather tomorrow afternoon and for late tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening.
And the interesting thing, Joe, before they upgraded and placed our area in slight risk, when we were just in marginal risk late last night and this morning, the interesting thing I found was that they had a 2% chance of tornadoes in a marginal risk zone. Usually you only see tornado forecasts when you are in the slight risk zone area. Admittedly, in marginal risk, you see the risk of, damaging winds or even hail. It's very unusual, though, in marginal risk situations to see the forecast for actual tornadic activity, but they had it in there for late last night. And then, of course, now that we're into a slight risk zone, that all the more is a possibility for our area for the coming hours, and especially so ahead of the approach of Elsa.
Tornado risk tomorrow is 2% in southeastern New England and over eastern Long Island. Again, that looks to me like that's reflecting Elsa as it's put just before it pulls out. There's also a 2 to 5% risk there in northern Missouri into Iowa, eastern Nebraska, northeastern Kansas, and western Illinois. And that's part of a slight to an enhanced risk of severe weather tomorrow for the Central Plains and the Middle Mississippi Valley. And then as we move into the weekend, let's take a look at Saturday. We have no thunderstorm activity forecast at all in the Northeast. And we have a marginal risk in parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and in northwestern Arkansas. So going to continue to be busy from the standpoint of severe weather. I wonder, you think we might see a watch box go up overnight into tomorrow morning? Because we don't see that up here too often. You wonder whether with the low, the way it's tracking, that there might be a watch box that goes up for the overnight.
You know, it's a funny thing. The last time I remember that happening, it wasn't a watch box for severe weather. It was a severe thunderstorms. It was a watch box for tornadic activity, and that was like at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I don't care what they think. I'll say this right off the bat. 3 o'clock in the morning, I wake up to loud thunder. And my wife had her iPhone nearby, and it was flashing tornado watch in effect. And I said, let's see what the radar shows. And this was about a year or two ago. And I flicked on channel 61 on Optimum, which for many years when I was at News 12, that was our traffic and weather channel 24/7. You were always never more than 2 minutes away from traffic or weather forecasts. And you know what happened when I flicked it on at 3 o'clock in the morning? Couldn't see anything, because between midnight and 6 o'clock in the morning, our good old traffic and weather channel becomes an infomercial channel. And so I was not able to see what I had seen for many, many years prior to that. When you could flick on and see a radar on your big screen TV in less than 2 minutes, it's not there anymore. So and that again was the last time I could remember a severe weather watch, and it was a tornado watch of all things happening at 3 o'clock in the morning. And it was on a Sunday night, Monday morning. I don't remember the date off the top of my head, but it is unusual, Joe, for our neck of the woods to see SPC put a watch of some sort up for the overnight hours. But yeah, we got an approaching tropical system, so why not? It certainly is within the realm of possibility overnight tonight.
All right, WPC's got, you can see this is front end loaded. Obviously, most of 90% of this is going to be from what's going on tonight. This starts at 8 o'clock, so it started 5 minutes ago. So 90%, I would say 90% of this is what's going to happen overnight and into tomorrow. That stripe there of 2 to 3 inches, 2 to 4 inches from Delaware, eastern Maryland, running northeast through New Jersey, the lower Hudson Valley, Long Island, into Connecticut, and into eastern Mass and Rhode Island, and even up on through coastal Maine. So that's all Elsa. We've got also a big area of 3 to 6 inch rainfalls over the next 7 days from the Ohio-Indiana border all the way back into northern Missouri and southeastern Iowa. Also continuing to see some additional big amounts in Texas along and inland of the coastal bend, and the west coast is quiet. So let's check. By the way, WPC also has a moderate risk now of flash flooding in the northern half of New Jersey to New York City, western Long Island, the lower middle Hudson Valley to just east of the Catskills, western Connecticut, northeastern Connecticut into eastern Mass, southeastern New Hampshire, and all the way up into coastal Maine. That's a moderate risk of some flash flooding. And as far as the 8 o'clock advisory, let's pull that up because that just should be in now. We have Elsa at 36.8. Let's see where they give the reference points to. So it's at 36 point, the center's at 36.8 north, 77.4 west, 65 miles west. 65 miles west of Norfolk, Virginia. And I pointed this out earlier on my Weather in 10 video that I did for my subscription platform on Patreon, that they're using Atlantic City as the next reference point. So that tells you where they think this is going to go. 240 miles southwest of Atlantic City, top winds 50 miles an hour, and moving northeast or 040 degrees at 21 miles an hour, or about 19 knots. And the minimum central pressure actually knocked it down by a couple of millibars, down to 1,004, 29.65. There's a little bit of baroclinic deepening going on. It's not a lot. It's subtle, but it is there. I think that's the reason why the winds have actually picked up a little bit in terms of the maximum sustained winds that they're carrying, because we are seeing, judging from the satellite, there's a very obvious strong rotation, and there's some good enhancement in the cloud cover that's going on. When I say good, I mean solid, impressive. Good's probably, I don't want the word. I had somebody misinterpret what I meant by the word good thunderstorms once, many years ago. So, that's a story for another day. Hopefully he no longer works hopefully the newspaper he worked at is out of business, and he doesn't have a job. But you can see the cloud enhancement going on now that we've gone to sunset down to our south. So that's all destined to move northeast. And the rotations the rotation on the satellite is impressive enough. And then the frontal boundary that lies just to the west of that. So let's play around with a couple of the short range models. I have an earlier HRRR. This is the 18Z HRRR, which went long enough so that we could take it through the whole track. And again, take a look at this is what it has for a radar at 0Z. Not even close, okay? Not even close on both counts, both on what's going on across eastern Pennsylvania to much of southern New England, but also with respect to what's going on with Elsa. But the low track, if we want to just use that, the low track goes into Chesapeake Bay. It goes over Cape May, then kind of jumps out. I don't know why. Sometimes these are the funny things the models do. Suddenly the low center moves east and then jumps north. So if you smooth it out, it just probably goes north-northeast and finds itself just south of Islip by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. In fact, it's right over Islip at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, and then at Riverhead at 11 o'clock and noon, and then it moves east again, and then it jumps northeast. I don't know. It's doing it's got some weird thing that it's doing here. We like to smooth the tracks out a little bit to account for the model idiosyncrasies, where it's trying to find the low pressure, and it's oftentimes it'll find multiple centers and then doesn't really know what to do with it. But you get the idea that the track is tucked in right along the immediate coast. And I'll switch to, let's go to I think the 23Z, which is only going to take us out 18 hours. But we'll let that one load up now, just for comparison.
While it's loading, Frank Riccio says it's pretty rare for a tropical system to hit New Jersey or come very close. Usually they're many miles offshore and are moving very fast. And this is just what I was saying, Frank, is that with the Tropical Storm Bertha from 1996, that storm was actually a little ways inland from the coast of New Jersey, went right up along the Jersey coast, but it was a little ways inland. Whereas if you take, again, the consensus between the European and the GFS for Elsa will be just a little ways just off the Jersey shoreline, which is why I'm saying that Elsa and Bertha are perhaps going to be rather similar in terms of the amount of rain and also the amount of wind that they may bring. And Joe, I just want to quote here from the New York Times from Bertha from 1996. It said, the storm known to the southeastern United States as Hurricane Bertha reached metropolitan New York yesterday afternoon in its diminished form of a tropical storm, but its gusty winds still carried enough cloud to knock down power lines, flood roadways, and batter shorelines. winds up to 50 miles per hour, slammed tree limbs into electrical wires, temporarily knocking out power. According to this article, in the aftermath of Bertha, Long Island Lighting, which doesn't exist anymore now, it's a completely different company, but the electric company on Long Island, crews had restored power to some 58,000 homes, although another 18,000 customers were still without electricity as they went to press with this story. Public Service Electric and Gas estimated that 58,000 of its customers in New Jersey had been affected. Now, I'm not thinking that we're going to see that many people plunged into the dark with Elsa as it passes on by tonight, but I am thinking that we're going to see at least some power outages near and along the track of the storm later tonight and tomorrow morning. So don't be surprised if you wake up tomorrow morning, some of you, and find that your digital clock is not working and that your light isn't coming on in your bedroom, because it could very well be that there could be some power outages. I don't think, again, of the same magnitude of what Bertha provided, but there could be some out there late tonight and tomorrow morning.
By the way, we're up to 74 likes. Thank you very much for those of you who've hit the like button. If you like, you can maybe take us up over 100. That would be a nice thing. So thanks again for those of you who've hit the like button. Joe, take a look at this is the 22. Now this is shameful. It's real shameful. This is the 22Z. So this was the HRRR model from 2 hours ago. And take a look at what it has for a radar presentation for 0Z. No, it isn't even remote. It isn't even remotely close. It's not even in the same. It's not even on the same plane of existence. It's horrible.
Well, the short-term models are not doing all that well. What else can I tell you?
It's awful.
What can I say?
Okay, so let's just follow the low center, because that's, I think, probably the more important thing. Now, this, by the way, is at 11 o'clock tonight. It's got almost no precip anywhere. Okay? I mean, this is just nuts. Now, here comes this arm of heavy rain and squalls into New Jersey. You can see the low is straddling the New Jersey coastline, then kind of jumps out east, moves over eastern Long Island, and then on the last frame, which is at noon on Friday, it's in southeastern Connecticut. But for those of you who are watching, I would just say that the western edge, I'm going to just kind of draw in mind, this is at 2 a.m. I think the western edge of the rain will be somewhere into southeastern Pennsylvania, and down into the back of the low. So forget what it has on its view of the radar. So by 5 a.m., if you're in Southeast PA, Southwest Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, it's all done. Okay. Of course, it's going on big time Central and North Jersey, coastal Jersey, with the low center there near Cape May, up into Northwest Jersey, the Hudson Valley, Long Island. At 8 a.m., the low is east of Ocean County, south of Long Island. Again, if the HRRR is correct, we don't know that that's the case. But the bottom line is by 9 a.m., the back edge of the rain is just about to New York City and then pulling out to the northeast. You have to wonder, Joe, if the rain is already up into southern New Jersey, into the southern New Jersey on the radar, if it's coming in faster, it may go out an hour or two faster. That's something we have to consider as a possibility. But for the most part, 8 o'clock I think is a good number to use for the rain ending at New York City, and then you can start adding and subtracting hours on either side in terms of trying to figure out what your end time is going to be.
Right, and I noticed, Joe, that the folks over at the National Hurricane Center are sticking more or less to a track that runs from Cape May to Montauk and on to between Cape Cod and Boston, which is noticeably more to the south and east of the consensus track that I had brought up between the GFS and the European. Again, the European has been on this for the last couple of days, saying that this system is going to be more west than any of the other models originally had indicated. And I think some of the models now are trying to join the European camp. But again, NHC, National Hurricane Center, still wants to move the storm out to sea at Cape May and not bring it back on shore again until it gets to around Montauk. I personally think it's going to be noticeably noticeably closer to the coastline than what they're saying. But we'll see. It's a point now. It's the point now where we're getting into that time frame where it's no longer a matter of forecasting. It's now a matter of nowcasting to extrapolate where the storm's main bands of rain are going to be in the coming hours, and also try to see if we can somehow manage to extrapolate where the track of the storm is going relative to what some of the models are saying. I mean, the models, at least in terms of predicting or depicting where the moisture is, pretty much you should just throw them in the circular file because they're nowhere
they're
near
useless.
What is reality.
Here's another fail. Okay, I just refreshed the radar, so it's up to date. It's only 6 minutes behind. It's 8:17 Eastern, so the last frame on this is from 8:11. Look at this radar. And actually, Brandon Doherty hitting super chat tonight. Thank you, Brandon. And Brandon's down in Delaware, so they've got the radar showing rain, some moderate rain down in the southern half of Delaware. I don't know where you are in Delaware, but I'm just kind of curious as to what kind of weather you're having there. But take a look at this radar, and take a look at the FV3 short range model. Okay. It's horrible. It's just, and actually, I'm kind of surprised because the FV3s actually hasn't been too bad lately with these afternoon and evening thunderstorms and how it's been depicting them. But again, seems to be in another in these short range models in a whole nother reality. Let's focus on the surface low track just east of Cape May in Atlantic City, passing south of Long Island, kind of clips Montauk, and then goes into southeastern Massachusetts. Now, I think the track is just going to wind up being just to the left of that. The short ranges, I think, have the low too far out. By the way, when you talked about nowcasting, just so you know, I have not even looked today at the GFS or the European. I haven't seen the 12Z GFS. I haven't seen the 12Z European. You have the 18Z European, so if you want to bring that up, and while you do that, I will bring the 18Z GFS up and actually look at it for the first time because I haven't seen it.
Will do.
Okay, so you get the European, and it's an exercise in futility at this point, folks, and I think you get the idea that the models are not going to really be very helpful. It's a matter of just watching the radar and the surface observations. And actually, looking at the GFS presentation of the radar is probably better than any of the short range models that we looked at. And you can see it takes the low pretty much in the same course. Just it smooths it out. Southern Delaware to east of Monmouth County, south of Islip by about 40 or 50 miles, probably crosses Montauk, and by 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon is sitting just west of Cape Cod. I don't have too much of a problem with this track. Now let's we'll bring up the Joe's got the 18Z European, so we'll put that on the screen, and there it is.
There it is, and that's as of 0Z, or the amount of rain that has fallen up until 0Z. And I got to tell you, it looks pretty damn good. This swath of green, which pretty well shows up well on the radar. There's the amount of heavy-duty rain associated with Elsa. And when we get up to, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than the short term.
Right, but it still
the HRRR.
Oh, sure, I know, but it still has nothing with regards to what's going on with the thunderstorms locally anyway. But go on, we'll just focus on Elsa here.
Right. All right, and here is 2 a.m. You could see the heavy-duty rains have now made it into south central New Jersey with Elsa. The center of Elsa, I would suppose, is somewhere around here.
Yeah, southern Delaware.
So yeah, right around that area. Of course, up here is Wilmington, Newark, and this is again southern Delaware. And then by 7 o'clock in the morning, we've got, well, this is depicting an elongated low pressure system, probably somewhere south of Islip or Babylon. And we're right in the thick of things here with the heavy duty rains across Long Island into New York City, coastal northeastern sections of New Jersey. The heavy rain, moderate to heavy rains reaching just about up to where I am. And then it looks like after that, again, this is all the precip that is accumulated from 2 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock in the morning. When we jump to the next run here, which is 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that's all the precip that is accumulated from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And as you can see, hardly anything for New York and New Jersey, which tells you that it's probably all but done by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning here in our area. And the center of the storm looks like, Joe, it looks like it's practically on top of Boston by 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, European and GFS match up pretty well. Again, folks, this is the new intermediate European run, not the 12Z run. This is the in-between run. So look, at this point, the models really don't matter. You watch the obs, you watch the radar. That's telling you this. That's going to tell you the story. You know how it's all going to evolve. So it's just a matter of watching what's going on hour by hour, and then you'll be far more informed in terms of where we're going forecast wise than taking a look at model. I always tell everybody, you've heard me say this before, when you get to the point of the event, please remember to look out the window. You can't
absolutely.
You can't watch a storm. You don't watch a storm from a computer screen. I mean, unless you're looking at cameras in other places. That's not what I mean. But stop watching the models and look at the radar, look at the observations, look out your window. That'll tell you what's going on. I figured let me bring up the 500. Maybe we can get a peek here at the long range. And I'm noticing here at 8:30 at night that there's a bunch of maps that are still missing between 120 and 186 hours. So I'll go back to 12Z. By the way, before I did,
on the chat board. See, it's great to have a chat board because our friends on the chat board can update us and tell us things that are happening on the outside world that we're not aware of while we're concentrating on weather. And one of our chat board members, David Carter, is reporting that a 4.6 Richter earthquake has just occurred in the San Francisco area, and friends are texting him and saying that it's a pretty major one, it seems, at that moment. So folks in and around the San Francisco or the Bay Area shaking as well as baking, I suppose, too, with this earthquake that's occurring in their area, I guess, fairly recently, within the last, I guess, few minutes or in the last hour.
Yeah, by the way, notice on the upper air, I will make sure I got the maps up on the screen here. Give me a moment. And let me bring that up. Looks like the heat wave is back. I saw Ruthless Goat was saying how it was 101 up in Loveland, Colorado, when he was on earlier in the chat board. But the heat wave, the heat ridge, is back in the southwest part of the United States. It's stretched out east-west and centered in northern Arizona, southern Utah. You see the little circle there that's east of New Jersey. This is for tomorrow morning. That's Elsa. The blue patch over the Great Lakes is the upper trough of the lakes that's driving it to the northeast. That trough swings through with maybe some thunderstorms tomorrow evening. Then as that lifts out, we get the ridge in the west moving a little bit westward into California and Nevada and strengthening. We also have a ridge off the Atlantic coast that's building at the same time. So going into next week, we've got strong ridges on both coasts, and you've got a trough with an upper low in the middle, right down the Mississippi Valley. So that's where all your weather's going to be in terms of showers and thunderstorms. And then you've got heat on either side. In the east, of course, it's heat and humidity. And I'm just running through next week. Looks like maybe another short wave is dropping down into the Great Lakes along about Thursday. So that probably means we'll get a front late next week to try and push through in the eastern part of the United States. The ridges weaken going forward. We've been talking about the fact that there's been this sort of persistence of troughs wanting to drop into the eastern part of the United States in one form or another. Here's another one around, this is well deep into the long range. So we're talking about July 20th, 21st. Looks like some kind of troughing running down from Hudson Bay into the eastern lakes. The westerlies are down almost into the mid-Atlantic states by the time we get toward the end of this long-range period. So still, Joe, the trough keeps wanting to drop into the east. I said it last night. I'll say it again. If this is going to be a pattern that's going to persist through the summer and into the early fall, then I will say that this will not be the only tropical system that will be impacting the East Coast this hurricane season.
And Jason Berry brings up a good point, a very good point. You remember last year during all of those tropical cyclones that we went through, Joe, we made the comment more often than not that the GFS was really the best by far of all the models in tracking and staying abreast of both the strength and the movement of these systems. And Jason Berry points out, he says, I think the GFS is on top of things for Elsa. It did well last year in the tropical systems in the Northeast. And yeah, it may very well be showing off here as the best of the models. Although, again, the European not too far behind or not too much different than the GFS, just being a little bit further to the left or to the west.
Yeah, no, the European in the formative stages of this storm was awful. It was just awful. It wiped it out in the Eastern Caribbean. It didn't show anything going into the eastern part of the Gulf of Mexico, not even close. So, and I also do remember a number of instances last year where the GFS in the longer range, not the long range. I'm not talking about days 10 to 16, but let's say in the 6 to 10 day time frame, there were a few instances where the GFS did a good job of picking out tropical cyclone development better than the other global models. So we should give it a heads up.
Yes.
And the chairman is on tonight. I did see that he's posted that he's on his way back from his vacation in southern New Jersey. So I assume that he's left southernmost New Jersey and now heading back up north. So you should be able to beat all of this before it gets in. So just drive carefully, okay, and say hi to your mom, because we hope your mom is getting better and moving around.
Well, we do have I do have a Briller Jeopardy if you want to go to it tonight.
Yes, let's have a little fun.
I'll leave it up to you.
We've been talking weather nonstop for an hour, so let's have a little fun. Let's do a little Briller Jeopardy.
The chairman has put together a special movie debut edition for Mr. Chiaffi tonight. And the category is an interesting category. Christmas in July. Oh. Which year or what year did each Christmas movie debut within 3, get 8 out of 10, and you'll get a chance to pick a prize behind door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3. These were Christmas.
Hold on. Let me get Mrs. Bundy ready, because being that this is Christmas movies, Mrs. Bundy is probably far more appropriate tonight with that look, looking at me, because you may have noticed the snarl that I made, because I don't know if I'm going to do well with this. Okay, go on.
Is she there yet?
No,
there she is.
She's come and gone.
She's come and she's gone.
Right. She had a lot. She got on the shot. She lit her cigarette, and now she's off. Now she's off screen.
I must tell you. Every time I see Mrs. Bundy now, I think more and more of Mrs. Quinn from Holy Rosary Catholic School back in East Harlem, who, in my opinion, was one of the worst educators I could ever. It's ever been my displeasure of having, not just for kindergarten. I had her for second grade as well. Oh
my God! To have her in kindergarten, you were scarred for life.
Yeah, it's true. Absolutely true. I was the only kid in her class in kindergarten, Joe. I don't know if the kindergarten teachers do this anymore. We had to draw a picture of something. Every kid, because she didn't like me. I knew from the get-go Mrs. Quinn did not like me. I don't know why, but she just didn't like me. Every kid in the class got a gold star. Remember those gummed
Yeah.
stars that you would lick and you put on it? Every kid got a gold star for their drawing except for me. And I don't understand to this day why that was. I went home crying, and
Oh,
my
good
mother went to
Lord.
went to the
See,
local stationery store and got a box of stars and put a star on my picture that
oh,
Mrs. Quinn would
see,
not
that
want.
was sweet. That
Yeah,
was
she was a
sweet.
terrible. Anyway, category Christmas in July. Again, what year did each Christmas movie debut? Within three, and we'll start with number one. It's a Wonderful Life.
I will say 1945.
Within one, you are correct. 1946. Number two, Remember the Night.
I don't even remember the movie. I've never heard of it. Remember the Night? I've never heard of it.
Remember,
I guess I
remember
have
the
to put it
Night.
on my list of movies. I mean, I couldn't even hazard a guess. I have no clue. Can you tell me who
I'm
was
looking
in
here.
it?
Remember, hold on. I'm bringing it up here on Wikipedia. A 1940
Well, you
American
just
Christmas
gave it
romantic
away.
comedy.
You just gave it away. 1940.
Well, I mean, you weren't going to get it.
Who was in it?
You weren't going to get it. Directed by Michelle Leeson and starring Barbara Stanwyck and Fred McMurray.
Oh.
The film was written by Preston Sturges, the last of his scripts shot by another director, as Sturges began his own directorial career the same year with The Great McGinty.
And it was
the plot is much too long.
Okay, it was a tender, heartwarming story of a Cuban tobacco pigger and his love for the plantation owner's daughter. Right out of I Love Lucy. Whatever. No,
Whatever.
I don't think I've seen it. So let's move on to the next one.
Number three, Miracle on 34th Street, which has been done innumerable times, but we want the first one.
Maureen O'Hara. 1948.
47. You were within one on that.
Okay.
And I would have given you a box of cigars if you could have sung the Christmas. It wasn't necessarily a Christmas tune or Christmas carol, but if you remember, Edmund Gwynn, who played Santa Claus, there was a little Dutch girl who didn't understand English. And yet when she sat on Santa's or Edmund Gwynn's knee, he was able to sing to her in Dutch.
Yes, I remember that scene. And by the way, in her first role in a movie, okay?
Yes.
Thelma Ritter, uncredited, as the mother who
really?
the kid wants a fire engine. And he told and she got mad and told and told.
All right, Tommy, get off of Santa's show. Get off Santa's knee. Mother wants to talk to Santa.
Exactly. that was an uncredited role. It was basically a walk on, and she impressed one of the big cheeses upstairs with that part, and then that led to two more uncredited movies, including one where she should have gotten a credit for The Letter to Three Wives. She was great in that, and then that led to All About Eve, where she got her first of 6 Oscar nominations. So anyway, amazing. Thelma Ritter is one of my favorite all-time supporting actresses. Okay, go on.
I'll have to look for that the next time I watch. I didn't even realize. Number 4, not necessarily a movie, but a 1-hour TV special, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Joe.
With Burl Ives and Jesus, you know, I'm trying, for some reason I'm having trouble in my mind is trying to decide whether that debuted in the 50s or in the 60s. I'll say 1962.
You were within 2, 1964.
Oh, I was going to say 64. I was really going to say 64, and I said, let me say 62. Oh, okay, good.
That actually started on NBC,
Right.
And General Electric was the original sponsor, who also sponsored the College Bowl. And by the way, and I hate to say this, but they brought back the College Bowl, and they have Peyton Manning as the host.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a break. Just cancel it right now, please. I remember the College Bowl. I remember the College Bowl when it was hosted by Alan Ludden and then later Robert Earl, who was
I
the perfect
remember.
host for the College Bowl.
Yes, I remember.
And that was great. It was on Sunday afternoons, like 6 o'clock. And the current College Bowl, forget it. Please don't torture me with any more episodes of the new College Bowl. I just can't take it anymore.
All right. Next.
Number five, another TV special, A Charlie Brown Christmas.
66.
Again, within one, 65.
Wow.
Number 6 on the list, Holiday Inn.
Bing Crosby. 47.
Oh, Joe.
Not close.
Off by 5, 1942.
42. Okay. That's not also
So
not
now
on
you can't miss any.
that's not on my list of favorites anyway. So now we got I only got one more to miss.
Right. The number 7 is Home Alone.
Oh God, I hate getting old. I remember, you know.
You're better with the old movies as opposed to the new ones, right?
Yeah, I'm having a tough time. I'm trying to remember if that was a 1980s type movie or a 1990s type movie. I'll say.
Well, here's a hint, Joe. Why don't you just split the difference between the 80s and the 90s? What did I give you?
Well, if you're saying anywhere between 1980 and 1999, I'll say 1990.
Good. See, there you are. 1990, right on the nose.
Okay.
Number 8. This one narrated by the late, great, and I listened to him every night on WOR radio for many, many years, Gene Shepard. A Christmas Story, 19 what?
That goes.
That's the movie that TBS and TNT run for 24 hours.
Jeez.
Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Oh God. I know. I'm just trying to. I know it's been around forever. 19. Oh, I've seen it a ton of times too.
And I'm gonna give you another hint. If you're thinking about any date in the mid or early 80s, you'll be right within the 3-year category or the 3-year
all right.
time frame.
1983.
There you go. 83. You're right. I'm trying to help you, Joe, because
No, my mind was actually in that early 80s, but my grasp of time is not what it used to be. So it was pulling me in both directions. Okay, go ahead. What's left?
You got 2 more left. Number 9, and this is, I guess, with Chevy Chase, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh, God, I don't know. The 80, I'll say 82.
1989.
Okay, go on. What's the last one? Even though I'm not going to get to pick the door.
Christmas in Connecticut.
Christmas in Connecticut. It's another one of those 19. That was also with Barbara Stanwyck and Sidney Greenstreet, if I remember correctly. I'm thinking late 1940s, so I'll say 1946.
You would have been within one of that, 1945.
Okay.
And now to tell you what was behind each door, which you are not going to be able to get tonight. Door number 1 had an 8x10 glossy picture from 1973 of Miss Carol Merrill dressed as Mrs. Claus.
Okay.
That was door number 1. Door number 2, 300 tons of rock salt.
That's useful, at least. Well, not for me
Yes.
here, but that would be useful for you. But go on.
And door number 3, a Christmas vacation in International Falls, Minnesota,
Yeah,
where they always have a white
yeah.
Christmas.
No, I'm not doing that. By the
Yeah.
way, it is the 8th of July, uh, and I have still not gotten to 90 degrees. In fact, I haven't even gotten out of the 70s in the last 3 days.
That amazing.
Isn't it great?
Unbelievable.
It is.
Unbelievable. Well, it's great for you.
My June electric bill is going to post any day now, so I'm dying to see what it is. I'm going to see if I broke $60. I know it's
Shoot
just
me now.
exactly.
Shoot me now.
Oh, I had traffic. I went to take the dog. I went to take JJ out to the dog park today, and I ran into traffic. There's a 4-way stop sign in town, and there was a car in front of me. I didn't know. I didn't know what to do with the stress. It was just too much.
Sunday, July 11th is going to be the 85th anniversary of the Triborough Bridge. And I leave you with an interesting piece of, not trivia, but an interesting factoid. The Triborough Bridge is made up of 3 different bridges. There's a stationary bridge that takes you into the Bronx. There's a suspension bridge, and there's a vertical drawbridge, a lift span. The middle part of the bridge lifts up. And you know how they lift that bridge up in the middle, Joe? They have 2 counterweights, which are made of solid granite, which are pulled down by 200 horsepower motors down through a pulley. They pull down, and as they pull down, they lift the middle span up, which weighs 2,000 tons. But think about this. Every time you go over that drawbridge and you go underneath one of those towers, think about this.
Right.
Right above you, there's a 1,000-ton block of granite, which if those cables were to somehow snap, you don't even want to think about what would happen.
Well, I'm glad you
Bong,
told me
yes.
that, since I used to drive over the bridge from time to time. I don't anymore. I didn't realize that was the case. They probably don't even open it anymore because they don't have the industrial ship traffic on the East River like they used to, back in the day.
I think though they have to do that on a semi-regular basis just to keep everything
moving,
just to make sure everything is moving or everything is, maybe do it in the middle of the night. I know they did it about 10 years ago when they moved the new Willis Avenue Bridge span upriver to the current site, and they had to lift the Triborough Bridge up. At least that was the last time I think they did it. But in any case, I thought you'd be interested. July 11th, 1936, the opening of the Triborough Bridge. And incidentally, that was 2 days after the hottest temperature ever recorded at Central Park of 106 degrees. It was still very hot when they opened the bridge up 2 days later. So,
by the way, Michael Azera is saying that his earthquake app is reporting a magnitude 6 earthquake in Lyon, Nevada. Hang on, because Brandon Doherty, actually, I did notice that he put up a link. Irma Warren says magnitude 5.9, 29 miles from Gardnerville, Ranchos, Nevada at 6:49 p.m. And let me just see if I can get Brandon. I know he had the link, and I didn't get a chance to. Oh, here it is. Let me see if I can bring something up. Copy link address. All right, so let me bring it here on this screen and bring it up and see what that brings me. Hang on a second. It's the USG magnitude 2.5 earthquake. I'll put the map up on the screen. Hang on a second. There we go. So let's take a look. Yeah, so there's there are the spots. What is that one? I'm clicking on this. 32 miles east-northeast of Dardendale, California, 2.6. And here's a bunch of listings here.
That's what the epicenter was. And they felt it in California, in San Francisco. that probably was a very significant shake.
Yeah. None of the numbers here. There was one yet. Here it is. 30 kilometers east-northeast of Dardendale, California, 4.6. And this was at 7:33 Eastern time. Then
we know it can't be Pacific time because it's not that late yet out there.
4.4, 19 miles east-northeast of Dardendale, reported at 8:27. Then another one at 2.6 at 8:42, almost 8:43 Eastern time, 32 kilometers east-northeast of Dardendale, California. So it looks like there's a whole bunch of shocks here going on. I'm just trying to see what the biggest number, 4.6. Oh, here it is. So at 22:49, so that was at 6:49 Eastern time, 33 kilometers southeast of Markleville, California, a 6.0 magnitude earthquake. So I'm trying to see where
that's a pretty big shake. Yeah. Wow.
And that's north. It's actually, I'm just guessing from this geography, which is not labeled. That looks like it's north of San Francisco Bay, if I'm reading the geography correctly. That's got to be San Francisco, the outline of the Bay Area there. So this is north of San Francisco, 6.0 on the Richter scale. So there you have it. So this is at earthquake.usgs.gov. For those of you who want to take a look at that on your own, by all means, that is the link to it. Earthquake.usgs.gov. All right. And we get 134 likes tonight. Thank you so much for those of you who hit the like button. Most appreciated. The chairman hitting super chat tonight. Thank you very much, sir. He said he got an email from the executive producer, Ruben Fairchild, that Briller Jeopardy will now be on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and that he's meeting with him to discuss this tomorrow. I'm sure you are. Brandon Doherty hitting super chat again. Thank you so much, Brandon. Most appreciated. Thank you for posting the links to the earthquake. And yes, Siler, I did scroll down, so I was able to get it. So that's good. It's a very good website for earthquake information. So again, it's earthquake.usgs.gov. So it's Thursday night, which means that we won't be here tomorrow because we usually take Friday and Saturday off. However, if God willing, I get up early in the morning, and most mornings I do. I might just do a live stream first thing in the morning. So
you mean like at 5 a.m.?
Well, maybe not 5 a.m., but possibly between 6 and 7 a.m. I may jump on. No guarantees.
I still have power at that hour.
Yeah, no guarantees, but I'm going to if I'm usually up by 6. And some days I'm up by 5. So if I get up my usual wake up time, I will jump on and do a quick live stream. Otherwise, we will see you Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern time for the Sunday Joe and Joe Weather Show. And of course, by the way, you can keep updated. You can go to my website, meteorologistjoechaffee.com, where I post regularly during the day. Or you can join my subscription website on patreon.com/meteorologist Joe Chaffee. That's just $2 a month. It's enough to get me a couple of cigars a year, and I'm pretty happy with that. There's some higher tiers if you're interested. But just for $2, you get advertiser-free website posts, extra videos, which I did one tonight before the show that was for members only. So patreon.com/meteorologist Joe Chaffee. Okay, see you Sunday. Everybody have a great weekend, and stay safe tonight and tomorrow morning as Elsa goes by. Night, everybody.
Prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
Amen. Night.